How's everyone doing today? So today what I do is I'm going to have a treat for everyone. When everyone was in school, one of your favorite things that you had is one of those days where they played a movie for you for a bit. Those movie days. So I'm going to start off this presentation with a bit of a piece of a movie. But I'm going to set it up for you. Many of you may have seen this movie, and some of you may not have. It's a great movie, but who here, does anyone know anything about U.S. Flight 1549? Anyone know which one it was? Why it's famous? It was the one that landed in the Hudson River. Okay? And they had a great movie out last year called Sully. So who here has seen the movie Sully? Okay, so some of you have seen it. Good movie? Yeah. So just to set a little bit of this up, because I'm just showing you a little piece of the movie, everyone saw the Captain Sully that landed this plane in the Hudson, and he was the big hero. He was on every TV station, every paper on how he did this. And we all saw that piece of it. What most of us don't know is behind the scene, the aviation committee in the US had questions to him. And they thought maybe he was bragging a bit on what he could do. Maybe he didn't have to land the plane in the Hudson River. They went and they thought maybe he could have went and just turned around the plane and made it to one of the airports. And he actually had to go to court over this because they were going to hold him responsible for crashing the plane. So this is a bit of what happened. So I'm going to go to this one clip, and that's the setup around this clip. And I'm going to bring the lights down. And what this clip is going to be, this is the court case that happened between Captain Sullivan and Aviation of the United States. So I'm going to start this. And this is, it's about a 8-minute clip.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Charles Porter. I've been assigned by the National Transportation Safety Board to conduct this public hearing here today. We have a lot of material to cover. But before we listen to the cockpit voice recording, and we will be listening to it for the first time along with you, gentlemen.
Per the request of Captain Sullenberger and the union, Airbus has agreed to link us via satellite to today's piloted simulations.
Upload the link, please.
They're just simulations, Sully. Won't change my mind about what happened up there.
Might change theirs.
Birds. Number one's rolling back. Or number two.
Autopilot's off.
Pilot off.
Flight director's off.
Flight director's on. All right, LaGuardia, Cactus 1549, dual engine failure. We have to return to the field.
Okay, I'm going to left turn back to LaGuardia 13.
I'll activate the approach for you. So activate it. Runway 13. Glide slope's coming in nicely.
Flaps 2.
Flaps 2. Sync rate 900.
Too low, flaps. Light slow. Too low, flaps.
40,
Too low,
30,
flaps.
20.
Successful landing at LaGuardia. Runway 13.
For the record, the pilots and the computer sims bear the same result.
Let's try for Teterboro now, please. Upload the second run.
Earth.
Give me heading 310.
Heading 310. I'm going to give you direct Teterboro.
Direct Teterboro. Flaps 2.
Flaps 2.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Successful landing at Teterboro, runway 19.
Multiple airports, runways, 2 successful landings. We are simply mimicking what the computer already told us.
You know, a lot of toes were stepped on in order to set this up for today. And frankly, I really don't know what you gentlemen plan to gain by it.
Can we get serious now?
Captain?
We've all heard about the computer simulations, and now we are watching actual sims, but I can't quite believe you still have not taken into account the human factor.
Human piloted simulations showed that you could make it back to the airport.
No, they don't. These pilots were not behaving like human beings, like people who are experiencing this for the first time.
Well, they may not be reacting like you did.
Immediately after the bird strike, they are turning back for the airport, just as in the computer sims, correct?
That is correct.
They obviously knew the turn and exactly what heading to fly. They did not run a check. They did not switch on the APU.
They had all the same parameters that you faced.
No one warned us. No one said you are going to lose both engines at a lower altitude than any jet in history. But be cool. Just make a left turn for LaGuardia like you're going back to pick up the milk. This was dual engine loss at 2,800 feet, followed by an immediate water landing with 155 souls on board. No one has ever trained for an incident like that. No one. And the Teterboro landing, with its unrealistic bank angle, we were not the Thunderbirds up there. I'd like to know how many times the pilot practiced that maneuver before he actually pulled it off. I'm not questioning the pilots. They're good pilots. But they've clearly been instructed to head for the airport immediately after the bird strike. You've allowed no time for analysis or decision-making. In these simulations, you take in all of the humanity out of the cockpit. How much time did the pilots spend planning for this event, for these simulations? You are looking for human error. Then make it human.
This wasn't a video game. It was life and death. Sully's right, that's worth a few seconds.
Please ask how many practice runs they had.
17. The pilot who landed at Teterboro had 17 practice attempts before the simulation we just witnessed.
The reaction decision time will be set at 35 seconds.
35 seconds, not enough time.
We only had 208 seconds total, so I'll take it.
Upload the link. Return to LaGuardia. Now with an added 35-second delay in response time.
Birds.
Okay, I saw him.
Right.
35 seconds.
Time's up.
Here we go. Flight path vector. Going for 1-3.
Okay.
Activate, confirm.
Okay. You are confirmed.
Okay, ready right for the airport.
Caution, obstacle. Caution, obstacle.
We're about 7 miles from the runway.
Caution, obstacle. Terrain, terrain. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Too low, terrain. Too low,
Gotta go
terrain.
extra speed. Got
Too
some
low,
flaps.
terrain. Too low, terrain.
No, leave the flaps up.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Let's try Teterboro.
Upload the link, please.
Birds.
Autopilot off, flight director off. Hack the time. 35 seconds.
Engine 1 and 2 fail. Turn.
Okay. Let's see if we can make it.
Heading home 290. Seen that Teterboro out there?
I do. Way too low.
Obstacle, obstacle. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
Not gonna work.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
So, great movie to watch, the whole movie. But there's a point to that. So on this flight, why did everyone survive? Was it because they had a great autopilot? We saw the autopilot results of what happened, right? Certain times you need professionals. So when we look at these, they had a professional in charge. When we came in to look at Captain Sully, he had tons of experience. He'd been through many situations. He was in the Air Force for many years. He had a great background. He was in emergency situations before. This wasn't his first time he had to make a reaction like this. If it was, he probably would have panicked. Experience let him know what to do. A computer simulation would let you know what to do. The other thing is the people listen to the professional. There was no one running up into the front of the plane saying, we're in trouble, I want to take over, I can do a better job than him. Right? Whenever you fly, you go through that experience. You hope you have a great pilot in charge, and you let him run everything. So what I was going to talk about today is just different areas of life that we found professionals help out quite a bit. The medical industry. The new thing we have in medical is when everyone gets something wrong with them, what's the first thing that a lot of people do right now? Doctor's a good idea. WebMD. Or it's, as we sometimes call it, or you have cancer. So everything you look up, it's going to go and put you to some result which is going to scare you. So this is what people go to, WebMD. And they put in all their symptoms and all their ideas, and they get a whole list of things that could be wrong with them. And immediately what happens is they see everything on that list, and they think every one of those is wrong with them. And they come up with a very bad analysis of what's going on, and not good results as far as trying to fix things. So this has always been the doctor's enemy, people trying to do it yourself in this area. So that's one system that people have started to use, and it has not helped that much. It's nice for a little bit of research to get a little bit of an idea on things, but it's not a way to cure anything serious. The other choices people have. People have a lot of different types of ideas out there what would cure. And some of them are very good. Chinese medicine, from India, a lot of those have a meaning. But when things go really wrong, we find the people that you want are a lot of the professionals out there. As I say, and I talk to a lot of people. I've been in sick kids hospital with my son for last week. There's a group of doctors. I met with 30 doctors, all incredible. Smart people, working as teams to go solve problems. Better than any one professional. So this is whenever you're in the medical situation, we always go, at a certain point, do everything you can to get all the information about your health that you can, but at a certain point, make sure there's experienced professionals involved in things. So that's one thing we discussed. Business. So for anyone who owns their own business, we've always had this idea of a professional coach. Now, In the last 20 years, Rob and myself have had a lot of coaching in business. And there's something in here, if you look on this slide, if I see in here, where these lines hit, there's something called a ceiling of complexity. And as businesses grow, they hit this high point where they can't advance anymore. And to get past that point, you need professional coaching. And we've seen good people out there. Stephen Covey has been fantastic. He wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Has anyone ever read the book? It's just a great book. Altogether, you read this. These are professionals giving you great information, and it helps you in business along the way. Tony Robbins has been, some people like him, some people don't, but he has good ideas on how to be more successful. Rob and myself over the years have used Strategic Coach. That's been our business coach now for 20 years. And has taught both Rob, myself, and our staff to each excel at what our unique abilities are. Rob and myself were at a meeting 2 weeks ago. And we sit down once a quarter with a bunch of other professionals and share ideas. One of the biggest things that people can do in life is hire a professional coach in business and even many times in your personal life to help you along. That's been a big change. Sports and hobbies. So this is me. Everyone knows my sideline. I like to play guitar and do things like that. And thinking about this and professionals and how things work, I'll show you a few things. Everyone's heard of Eric Clapton before. Great guitar player. Probably one of the best in the world. What a lot of people didn't know about him is he would go take lessons all the time. And who he'd come to lessons for is there's a Canadian guy, he passed away quite a few years ago, named Lenny Bro. He would go up to Canada, in Western Canada, and go for weeks on end and take lessons from this guitar player. Even though he was so good, there's other people out there that can always teach you. The tricky thing about lessons that's very hard to accept is you don't need to necessarily take lessons from someone who's better than you. Eric Clapton, Lenny Bro was not a better guitar player than Eric Clapton, but he did have a different knowledge. You find this with all athletes now too. When you see athletes, I used to use Tiger Woods as an example, but we're not using him much anymore. But great golfers are taking lessons. Great tennis players are taking lessons. All these people had their dad teach them for a long period of time. Eventually they get better than their dad, but they're still learning along the way. So clients that we've seen do incredible things, painting lessons. People go and paint all the time. If you go for a lesson, you'll get 10 times better. You'll learn techniques you never knew existed. And people advance so quickly when they go for lessons. Golf. Who here has taken a golf lesson? Many people. Have they helped or hurt? I hear different things. Overall, sometimes people take golf lessons, they go down for a bit, but afterwards their golf game continues to improve. A big thing which you can get help in. Tennis. The obvious ones. People that like games like chess. Bridge. Many of you probably play bridge in here. Who plays bridge? Have you ever went for any of the bridge lessons? They're very good. People increase their game. When you get better at things, you enjoy them more. Okay, so that's the key, is to continue to try to get better at things and enjoy things more. Public speaking. Toastmasters. Area like that. People that aren't comfortable with public speaking need to go to this. About 10 years ago, I went to, we had to do these seminars. I used to hate doing presentations. Went to an acting course. They would teach you how to speak in public and become more comfortable with it. And help my confidence. It makes me so more comfortable doing these things. Still not a great public speaker, but at least I feel more comfortable than I was 10 years ago doing this. So in all these areas, what I encourage you to see what you love and find a way to get advancements in it. Hire professionals. Legal. So now we get into some of the less fun stuff. What we do is we watch a lot of people try to do a lot of legal things on their own, particularly things like wills. You go out, you try to write your own will. Now, everyone has a good idea what a will is. And there's will kits you can go and buy. You can buy them at Staples or anywhere like that. You can get a will kit for probably $49. And people think, that's great. A will cost me $500 from a lawyer. I'm doing this for $49. Look at how much money I've saved. One small mistake in a will, depending on the size of people's portfolios, can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've seen people have handwritten wills for $5 million estates with many mistakes in them. People don't know the details. People will go and leave things to people. First of all, a big mistake we have is people leave things away from their spouse. Your will becomes invalid. You have to give 50% of your net worth always to your spouse. If you don't, the will is invalid. So people forget these things when they go to do that, because that way the spouse has a way to challenge the will. So when you're going to do your wills, your power of attorney, anything like that, you should be using a lawyer. The lawyer's in there. We were looking for lawyers this morning, and we thought of Matlock. Taxes, this is a big thing right now. It's tax season, so who here does their own tax returns? So probably about 20 or 30% of you. If you have a very simple tax return and you enjoy doing it, those two together, it's fine to do your own tax returns. They have great software now. You can do tax returns pretty simply. If you have any complexities in your tax return, let's say you have any rental properties, let's say you have any type of small business income, let's say you have anything that gets investments that are more simple than just an RSP, anytime you have any type of complications in there, if you can write off part of your home, what type of deductions you're taking, how are you going to split your income between the spouses, all that, if you start to get into that, at a certain point, you're going to lose money by doing taxes yourself. The accountant is free. Most of the times when we see people with any way of a more complicated tax return, when we go to an accountant to do that return, they get back more money than the fee of the accountant. And plus, they didn't have to do their tax return. The nice part, too, is when things go wrong, your accountant follows up. I don't know if anyone had to deal with CRA last year. It was brutal. Did anyone get reports back or requests for things? I guess about 20 or 30% did. I know it was a lot of our work was going taking care of all these requests coming back. But then it's our problem, not yours. So who wants to deal with that all year? So the one thing is, if you have a more complicated situation, have it done by a professional. Also, even if your situation is that complicated and you want to enjoy your time, have it done by a professional. For what you have to pay to have your tax return done and not worry about it, it's one of the best values you can get. You know, for the price of a dinner out, you can have your tax return done. Think about it. There's the do-it-yourselfers. Things we have found wrong. I'll go through some of the mistakes we've seen. Missed fees. What can be deducted? So there's things also, all investment management fees. There's the cost of doing your last year's tax return. There's legal fees you can deduct. You know, if you had to have a lawyer for anything, you deduct your legal fees. Things people don't know about. Missed tax deductions. What can you deduct from your taxes? Did you see everything? Do you know everything? Medical expenses. Whose return should you put them on? How much do you need to get the deduction? You know, I'm doing my dad's, getting my dad's stuff together right now. If you're in a senior's home, part of that goes toward a medical deduction. Have you submitted those receipts? Many people go do the tax returns, forget that. They forget to put that in there. Income splitting done incorrectly. I watch people, they lose their old age security over this. They didn't find the right way to split the income. Sometimes they miss a box. The software is reasonably good at this now, but it's only as good as the input that comes into it. Mr. Incorrect's office deductions. Do you have a business? Can you run part of that through your home? Can you write off a home office? If you do have the ability to do that, that gives you some deductions in there. It will give you all your utilities, your phone, even your property tax becomes a deduction. Interest on your mortgage then becomes a deduction. How much of that can be put in there? Also, the accountant will go and look at your situation and say, hey, you're taking this income in this manner, let's put it over to a different manner to make it so we can take advantage of these deductions. This is the big one, miscalculations for adjusted cost basis. We have, this time of year, we have people in our office all the time just saying, can you figure out the ACBs on investments they bought 25, 30 years ago? And very difficult to do because if you remember, over the years, capital gains inclusion rates now 50%. Has it always been 50%? People remember different times. You got to go back through all those different times. You have to know the inclusion rates. You have to know when those rules changed. You have to know when crystallizations happen on capital gains. And you're not expected to know this. You shouldn't have to know this. Your accountant should. You don't have to. Taking wrong types of income. If you have a company, should you be taking salary? Should you be taking dividends? Nowadays, we have a lot of people who have joint citizenship. They're U.S. citizens, they're Canadian citizens, and there's problems with taking dividends. So all your situations should be run through an accountant, because if you try to do this stuff yourself, you're going to miss it. And you can plan out how to take your income in the future in a very tax-effective manner. Losing old age security. About $74,000, you start to lose your old age security. So when you're sitting down with your accountant, you're hitting that, you should go, there's a problem here. You're going to lose your old age security. Your accountant should tell you that. You come into us and you say, I'm taking this bunch of money on my RIF. Maybe we can switch that income I'm taking on my RIF, move it to my open account to bring me back below that $74,000 threshold. And I'll get my old age security back. Work with professionals and they'll always figure this stuff out for you. Missed capital losses. A lot of people want to forget Nortel. There's one good thing about Nortel. It's a capital loss when you need it. So dig out your old statements, find out where it is, give it to your accountant, have him put it against your capital gains. That's going to save you money. Get a professional accountant to do things. Helps out quite a bit. Your financial advisor. This is obviously me. In the summer, I tend not to wear socks. So there's all the do-it-yourselfers. So let's talk a bit about this. Has everyone seen this ad? I hate the company. I gotta say, I love the ad. I love this guy. They talk about trying to do it yourself. And a lot of people look at this option and say, hey, I'm paying a financial fees. Why do I have to do that? Why am I paying fees? What am I paying for? Some of the problems we've seen with do-it-yourselfers, because I've had a lot of do-it-yourselfers come over and come to deal with us. Well, why have they come to deal with us? What's changed? One thing you got to recognize is when we go back to watching that original video, this is sort of the point of showing the video. This really comes to the thing. Experience is a big thing. So for all of us at McClelland Financial Group, this is our full-time job. Okay, this is what we do. 50, 60 hours a week, we're in the office, this is what we do. This is all we know. For anyone to try to do this themselves and commit that many hours, you wouldn't have a life left. Education. Courses. You'll find a lot of times we're away at courses. This is, again, our 25th anniversary. I was going through today, just working with numbers. Do you know how much we've spent on education in 25 years? We're over $1 million. So we've put $1 million into education. I looked at our budget, went back through the years. We've spent $1 million getting educated. You know, every year we have to go to different places. A lot of the solutions we've had to go to different countries to find out. You know, a lot of you were dimensional. We had to go down to, we were in Texas when we originally found out how to use that solution. We went to all different places to find the best way to go. If you want to hear the best people in the world talk about finance, it's not always going to be in Thornhill. So you got to go out to see them. Emotions. This is the big ones. Emotions and nerves. Handling your own money is very easy during up markets. Right? Everyone, it's very easy now. You can invest everything, everything goes up. It's very easy. In 2008, when things went down, people were making terrible, terrible decisions across the board. And it wasn't dumb people, it was very smart people. Everyone was making very poor decisions because what happened? Your emotions get involved. Emotions tend to lead to very poor financial decisions. When you have a professional on the outside, the big difference is emotions aren't involved for us. We do feel it, trust me, we know when things are going down, but we're trying to make correct decisions. We're not making gut decisions and we're not panicking at any time. We've been through this a few times. We know what the end looks like, and we're going to get you through it. Unknown costs. I've seen a lot of people go to do it themselves and they say, look how much I'm saving. I go and look at the products they're using. Buried inside those products are more costs than they're paying more inside these products than they paid to use a professional. They haven't done the research to know how much the costs are. Also, when you really get to know products, there are things that you don't see. I remember talking to someone about buying bonds in a portfolio. And they're out buying bonds and they say, hey, I'm making a great savings by buying bonds myself. Look at how much I can buy a bond for. The trick to a bond is they're going out to buy a $10,000 bond. So when Government Canada releases a bond, it's in $10 million increments. There's something called fracturing. Every time a bond goes from $10 million to $1 million, do you think everyone does that for free? They take a profit. Every time a bond gets cut down, someone's taken a cut of it. So by the time you go to buy your $10,000 bond, you might have paid a very cheap price to buy that, but it's been fractured down so many times, the returns and the yields on the bond are half of what you would have got if you bought the $10 million bond. So sometimes when you use the professionals, they have the access to the $10 million bond. You think you're saving money, but you're really not. Products, which ones to pick? There's a million products out there right now. Do you have the time to analyze and figure out which ones are right? Do you have the know-how? Do you have the experience to know which ones are right? People go and read a book or read one book and think they know everything about mutual funds, top funds today. You look at the Post, you look at Money Sense magazine. When we went to go and decide on products, we spent a year researching where to go to our next move. We're still researching all the time to see if there's anything better out there. So that's some of the reasons why do-it-yourself sometimes doesn't work. New thing that's coming out too, the robo-advisor. Anyone heard about these robo-advisors? The idea is that you put your portfolio on autopilot. So, seems like a neat idea. All these advertisements that are coming, all this money is going to that guy you see up there is actually from a company that's doing this robo-advisor idea. So, it's interesting because we always look and research into this. I know Rob put his son had some money, and we wanted to test something out with a robo-advisor. So we figured, okay, we'll open up an account and we'll put it in here and we'll see how it does. So his son is bugging him every day now to put it back because the performance is terrible. Robo-advisors, they don't know what's going on. They're not going to help you. So some of the problems that we find is, number one, they don't know your situation. You'll fill out a survey, and it'll go and give you a portfolio that fits the survey you filled out. They don't really know where you work. They don't know what's going on in your life. They don't know if a couple is going through marital problems or if there's problems with the kids. They don't know if there's any risk of them being sued. They know nothing about their situation. And they're giving advice on that. I heard a great example of if a client had all their money sitting, if they're working for a Canadian oil company and all their money is in there, they have tons of stocks over there, if they went to, say, design a portfolio, I might go and ease off on the Canadian side of their portfolio because I know their personal situation. I know they have too much exposure over there. Robo-advisor won't think of that stuff. That's the problem you run into. They don't understand emotions. When you go and call the robo-advisor when things are going down and say, I'm done with this, I want to sell, what's the robo-advisor going to tell you? Okay, sell. That's all they're going to say, right? Because what the design on all these robo-advisors, they're all set to protect the institution from being sued, okay? They're not set to get you through your retirement goals and make you have a great retirement and enjoy being able to spend your money. They're set to make sure they can make a fee off you and make sure they don't get sued in the process. Okay? So they're never going to push you to things you need to be. We've sat down with some clients who are a little bit more conservative. We said, you know, I know you're conservative, but you have to get through 30, 40 years here. You may have to go and be a little bit more aggressive on the portfolio. We'll hold your hand through that. We'll get you through it, but that's going to get you where you need to be. We have the capability of doing that because that's our responsibility. That's why you're hiring an advisor. When you hire a robo-advisor to do that, you're not going to get any of that. And again, as I said, it doesn't care if you're successful. We measure all our clients by making sure they get through their retirement and they have an enjoyable retirement, they enjoy their lives. That's what we consider successful. Robo-advisors don't care about that. They don't have meetings each week to decide how everyone's doing. None of that's involved in there. Other mistakes we see. Using banks as your financial advisor. I see these come in all the time, the banks. What are the problems with the banks? Ever-changing employees. With the bank, the one institution you're going to run into is, it's not saying there's not good people that work for the banks, but if you're at a branch and you have a good person that's serving you, do you think they're going to last? No, of course not. They're going to keep on moving them up. So there are great people that go there, but they get moved across very quickly. So if you found someone you just poured out your whole life story to, and they're really good, and this could happen, chances are a year from now, you're not going to be dealing with that same person. If you're lucky, the second person will be competent. Maybe they won't. Maybe this will be a passing career for them. Lack of experience. When you go in there, the people are not going to be as experienced. This is a job for them to get to the next job. It's not their career where they're going to stay for their life. No customization. You're going to be in a set type of portfolio. They're going to have a system that you have to fall into. And you've got to adjust whatever you need to fit what they're offering. Okay? Big difference in how things are handled. Biggest thing I hear about the banks is they're not going to help you when you need it. And you always hear this with banks loaning money. Banks are great to loan you money when you don't need it. We've all been there. Everyone nowadays gets a notification on their door every day that tells them how much money they're willing to give you on your house and that. And everyone comes back and says, well, I don't need any money. They just want to give me money, but I don't need it. Right? So they're very generous when you don't need money. Have you ever tried when you're in trouble and you have a business and you need to borrow money from a bank? Are they near as friendly? No. They don't have a vested interest in your well-being. So what you're going to find is, from a bank's point of view, they're going to make as much money if you owe debt to them as if you have money with them. They may make more. Doesn't matter how your situation is. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. If you owe them money, they're making as much money if they owe you money. So they're not necessarily interested in you getting richer. They're more interested in how much they're going to make off your total services with you. So there's the two choices in life you're going to find. There's the do-it-yourselfers. And there's a place for that. And if you enjoy doing things yourself, that's great. But when it comes to going with finances, there's also the robots that we have. Again, we were looking up scary robots this morning. We found the Terminator and Lost in Space robots together. So there's that choice. If you're not worried about the personalization, everything, there's that choice out there for you. Or you can hire professionals. And that's what we're here for. And just whenever you think of that movie and think of what went on, whenever I fly, I know nowadays you can go and you can fly anywhere on autopilot. A pilot is not a necessity until things go wrong. Again, no one needs a financial advisor in up markets. If everything just went up by 10% every year, no one would need a financial advisor. If you just put things in, let's say, one index, they went up by 10% a year, you never have to look at them, no one needs financial advisors. They don't. Things go wrong. That's the nature of the market. So what you need is someone here to manage that, to manage your tax situation, to manage your financial plan, to manage your wills, all your estate plan together, to make sure all that's all being looked at. So that's a bit of a piece that I was thinking of about a month ago as I was watching that movie. And any questions from anyone?